Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another video here on Titan's Head. I know I've uploaded twice in the space of just a few days. I mean, that in of itself is a miracle for this channel. And again, sorry about the less than stellar video and audio quality. Unfortunately, all I'm working with really here is a inbuilt camera and microphone that's built into my laptop here, so that's unfortunately the best I've got to work with at the moment. However, if I do get the chance to get something better to film these kind of face cam or vlog videos with, I'll do my best to try and replicate that at some point in the future. Now, what I'm wanting to do over the next week or so is conduct a 3-point mini-series, just of 3 videos, about some key points of conduct in debating. And I was kind of inspired a little bit to make this little mini-series by a YouTuber I've been watching recently called Miss Misa. And I referenced my influence of watching her videos in my last video, actually, where I referenced that watching one of her recent live streams was a big influence on me making that video. You can go watch it, you'll see what I mean, and I'll put a link to her channel in the video description below because, I mean, to be fair, I only have about half a dozen subscribers and she has several thousand, so she certainly doesn't need the exposure from me, but at the same time I feel like I have to give credit where credit is due. She has provided me with the ideas and the inspiration to make these few little videos here for you guys. Now, the first point of this 3-stage mini-series that I want to make on the issues of proper debating etiquette is on validating your points properly, and that's going to be the topic of this first video. Now, what I mean by this is, when I say validating your points properly, I mean not just stating your points and pointing out why you believe them, but actually providing evidence for your point of argument to act as a point of reference to support it, to act as like the pillars underneath the superstructure of your general argument. And this is something I feel we all have to do in certain debates. I don't think it's necessarily always important in issues such as when you're arguing about personal preference in terms of food, entertainment, and certain sort of personal issues, but particularly when it's in regards to issues such as, you know, ethical realism or politics or sociology, then backing up one's points with codifiable, clearly provable facts and statistics is critical to maintaining not just a good argument for your own sake, but for maintaining a good stratosphere of debate and argument around this subject in general. Because when you think about it, not only do you invalidate your own side of the argument, or at least your own point of argument in a certain debate if you are not providing clear-cut evidence, or you're at least trying your very best to do so and providing it in a sort of clear and well-reputed sort of way, and from a well-reputed source as well, you're also hurting the basis of platform upon which you and the opposing person or opposing side against you are debating upon this certain issue. And that then not just only hurts your side of the argument and your personal point of view, but also hurts the general discussion. And I would say this happens in really any sort of topical issue sort of debate, whether it be to do with politics, ethics, sociology, finance, or whatever. You have to back up your points in those particular subject areas with codifiable, clearly sort of trackable and very definitely provable evidence, because otherwise either your point just isn't strong enough, or if you aren't willing to put the effort in to properly research the evidence behind your point, then you're not really going to be proving much of a strong debater just in a general sense anyway. You might as well just not bother if you're not going to be prepared to actually argue a clear-cut point with clear-cut evidence behind it. And this is something I saw happen a lot when I was originally studying politics at college level, as some Americans may call it, or A level as we call it here in the UK. When I was studying politics for the first time at that level, I realised that what me and some of the other contemporary sort of students around my level were doing was pointing out our arguments and stating them very clearly and proudly, but without thinking about really too much into why we personally believe them, and then providing the truest sort of sense of evidence to support them. And as I've gotten older and I've thought more and more about my own personal political views and realised how important political, happenings are to everyone's everyday lives, I've realised the importance of putting across your own personal point of view, especially if you're into sort of lobbying and protesting, is to support that with codifiable, trackable and provable evidence that is well sourced from a reputable source as well. And this is something that I managed to learn over time through studying politics at an increasingly higher level, and with a varying number of fellow students from different backgrounds and of different political views. So I had a breadth of, differing viewpoints to sort of bounce upon and sort of bounce ideas off of, and just see what sort of stuck and what sort of didn't, and what I agreed with and what I did, and what I didn't so much. And that helped me in the long run, not just to sort of codify my own political beliefs, but also to sort of realise the importance of supporting the act of arguing for your own personal beliefs with evidence. But touching upon the issue of protesters and lobbyists, these are people in particular whom may have differing levels of authority or, influence in politics, be it ad hoc or actual sort of direct involvement in politics. And I believe in these cases it is even more important to support your arguments with clearly sort of done and well made evidence that is well researched and well founded. Because otherwise, if you're going out and protesting without much codifiable and sort of provable evidence behind your point of debate and your point of the argument, then what's the point in going out and debate and sort of debating and protesting anyway? You're just wasting your time essentially, especially in the case of some protesters who may get arguably more aggressive and unruly and smash up shops and stuff, like say some parts of Antifa, or let's be real here, most if not all of Antifa really. And same with lobbyists who lobby for certain contentious points of specific interest, be it tobacco or gun control or legalization of weed. Regardless of however you stand on those certain issues, I would argue it's more important than anything that you clearly research those points that you're trying to defend in that certain debate if you're a lobbyist, so you can clearly structure your argument for lobbying towards the government in order to get the policies that you want to see put into place. And then, of course, there's the matter of the government themselves and the members of the executive and the legislature and possibly even the judiciary to a certain extent, that they have to support their own arguments with clearly proven evidence that is well founded and well sourced as well. Because otherwise, how are they supposed to convince the public fully and properly that the policies they are introducing are clearly provably for the better, and B, how can they actually implement those policies to be for the better of society and the government and the economy and so on and so forth? I mean, to be fair, this is more of an issue really in terms of the legislature and maybe a little bit with the executive and very little to do with the judiciary, although I guess that does depend on which particular democracy or political system we're looking at in the modern world today that has a system of those three institutions of political operation. But regardless, I would still say it's important at a basic level for all of them to employ the practice of having strongly founded and well researched evidence at their fingertips and behind their backs to prove their arguments, or at the very least, provide some weight for certain policies that are being pushed through government. But in general, I just think it's beneficial to the whole political landscape because it not just helps out implementing changes and, you know, the flow of ideas, but it also helps us out personally. And again, I would say this not just in terms of more contentious issues like politics and finance, but even just everyday discussions like to do with films and video games. It's still worth backing up your points with clearly proven evidence, and I would say realistically, in most if not all cases, it would be critical to do so. And yeah, that's pretty much all I've got on the issue. I mean, why can't we just put more effort into providing evidence to back up our arguments? If you're just arguing for a certain point without solidly backing it up with some strong foundations in evidence, then in my mind you're either not really caring that much about your own political views anyway, or your own views on any given subject anyway. You're either too ignorant to really do that in any case, and I feel that's a very sort of tragic stance to take, because ultimately that not just hurts discussion in contentious subjects or even mundane ones, but also hurts our own worldview and makes us less ignorant of why we actually believe the things we believe and how we should properly convey them to make it clear what we believe and how we think these ideas should be implemented, if they are to be implemented, of course, or they're implemented in a way that is clearly, you know, tangible, like, say, to do with politics or finance. Because let's face it, just saying you like or don't like a certain type of film is really something you can only impact with voting with your wallet and stuff like that. So, yeah, take that as you will. In any case, I hope you guys have enjoyed this somewhat rambly and at times incoherent, I'll admit, video. Like I said before, be sure to check out the channel of Miss Misa. I'll put it in the video description below. Also check out my other YouTube channels and my social media in the video description below. If you did like this video, or at the very least found it helpful in some way, be sure to leave a like, comment, share and subscribe. And as always, I've been your most gracious host, Titan Ted, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye for now.